What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing right now. Subscribe if you haven't already. Where's that thing? Over what corner is it in? Subscribe now. Tell a friend. Send this one. You can do it right now if you want to. Send this interview to 3 people that you know because it's going to be amazing. No, you all are not. You don't have to clear your eyes. Yes, you've seen this beautiful face before. And our Black Business Booming interview was so nice. We had to do it twice. She's back again for impactful conversations. So we're going to get into our guests in just a moment. But listen, I just want to welcome everybody back again. You know the brand P&Z Life Coaching. You know the man, Coach Mike James. And I'm excited because I just meet and talk and converse with a lot of amazing, dope, beautiful souls. And this is no different. Again, I've had Elease on before for Black Business Boom, and now she's back. So sis, take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience. For those who hadn't seen you already, take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yes, well, first of all, once again, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our interview on Black Business Booming, and so I appreciate you having me back on for this. And to your audience members, my name is Elease Dillard, and my background is I graduated college debt-free without taking out any loans along the way. And so after experiencing that for myself, I founded the Student Navigator, where we teach students how to fund college debt-free. And I've also written my book called Funding College Debt-Free as well. And so aside from that, I'm a speaker. I also am the creator of the Let's Break the Odds initiative. And a part of that is where I host Break the Odds podcast, where the mission behind that is to navigate individuals towards breaking the odds in their life, family, career, and community. So that's me. So happy to be here.
Boom, all of that. That's why we drop the horn, the sound effects. You heard that right. Graduated college debt free. So just love what you're doing. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you back on, to just dive deeper into that journey, because with impactful conversations, it's not just the business, but your life and a lot of other things that got you to this point. So what I like to do, Elease, is start from the beginning. So take us back to little Elease, like your background, your early upbringing.
Yes. Gosh, I guess my background, I mean, I'm so grateful that I have 2 amazing, loving parents. I have a sister, and I'm just grateful to have the family that I have who are always just continuing to support me. But growing up, I'm so grateful that I had, my parents as an example, because growing up, I saw them, pursue their dreams. And, growing up, it would be normal for me to, in a car ride, to hear my parents listening to motivational audio tapes or CDs and things like that. And at the time it was kind of boring. I was like, oh, Dad, oh, Mom, can we just listen to music, But they wanted to use that time to, personally grow and develop. And so that really just began to plant a seed in me, being exposed to mindset and having a positive mindset and positive attitude in life. And then even with seeing them start a business, I got to see that. I was really little, but them together, they started a business. And I remember just, my sister and I, we were supposed to be in a different room playing while they were, doing business things. And I would peep around the corner and just eavesdrop, and just seeing them go through that process of starting a business, pursuing a dream, hiring their first person. I mean, I was so little. I don't even know if I was 10 years old, but I remember that. And I kind of helped plant that seed. And so it really, to all the parents out there, your kids are watching, even when you think they're too little to understand, they really are. And so that really helped plant a seed to me being a business owner. And even just with my grandparents, seeing them, do their business. They were one of the first African-Americans to start a business in Detroit in their industry. So it was just, I'm grateful to the upbringing, to answer your question, with having, family, to have that example. But even just in terms of my funding college debt-free journey, that started I played basketball my whole life, playing sports. And then once I was 8 and played basketball, that was it. I was like, this is what I'm sticking to. And so,
Right.
And so I just had the intention of playing in college, and decided my senior year that I wanted to focus in college on academics completely, to pursue my career in STEM. And then choosing in that situation, just figuring out like, okay, if I'm not going to play college, I'm denying any chance of a college basketball scholarship because schools were interested in me. And I just decided, okay, like funding college is going to be up to me if I decline that option, and I just got to figure out how to do it. So fast forward, I just took action the best way that I could. I didn't really have a roadmap because there really wasn't anything that I could find out there as a go-to to fund college debt free. But thankfully, sure enough, my freshman year, I took action and funded that debt free. I had enough money to fund that debt free, and then took action again my sophomore year, funded that debt free. And then by this time, just found a groove, duplicated what was working for me. And just for my third and fourth year, and crossed the stage, debt free without having to take out a loan along the way. And so really just wanting to be here that's what inspired me to start the Student Navigator, just to be a resource, because, a lot of students out there are craving to fund college debt free, and they want this information, but there's not a loud enough resource to really, be that go-to for students to be like, hey, I want to fund college debt free. Let me go check out, this or that, So I wanted to change that. So that's what inspired me to start the
Wow.
Student Navigator. Yeah.
That was so much that you dropped just now for young people and parents. First of all, going back to the parents, like you said, it's amazing because my wife and I, we talk about it all the time. We don't have children, but I'm an uncle many times over. I'm a godfather a couple of times over. We love children, and we always talk about the importance of when you think kids are not listening, oh, they're listening. And they pick up on everything. It's like they retain so much because, at least my understanding, my thought now, my adult self looking back, I feel like we are at our purest and most intelligent form when we start school. And I feel like the older we get, the more experience, things are piled on, people telling you, you can't do this, you have to do, we talked about this in the Black Business Boom interview, some of those older people that say, you shouldn't. I think the older we get, and I say this loosely, but not literally, I think life and our structured institutions sometimes can dumb us down. And so I feel like what you said there is so impactful in thinking about, what your parents were doing, and you caught on that. And now what college student is thinking, okay, I don't have this college now. At least I was an athlete. And I think that's so amazing. The fact that you said, okay, if I don't have this basketball, then I'm going to have to figure out how to fund college. And you doing that, I think that's so amazing. So for all the youth out there that's watching, and parents watching, the studentnavigator.com, you have to go find out, like, wait a minute, what is she talking about? What is this? So I appreciate you for sharing that. At least on top of that, right? You talked about your parents listening to, like, personal development and motivation and working on business stuff when y'all are in the other room. What are some other impactful moments that stands out to you growing up? Some things that maybe stuck with you even as you look back?
This really is still kind of like, in my heart, but I know it was the best thing. It was a huge lesson that my parents taught me. Was I played basketball, right? I was this athlete, but I was also like super girly. And so I had this opportunity to do this fashion show at my high school. They had this fashion show, and I was so excited. And all my friends, we all got selected for it. So it was like the best thing. And I had spent all this time rehearsing for this fashion show. And the day that when they came out with the schedule, it landed on the same day at the same time as my state basketball game, and it was like the state finals, and it landed at the same time. And I remember my parents were like, well, you made a commitment to your basketball team first, you got to fulfill your commitment. And that's a lesson that even still, I would have loved to have been a fashion show. And that's something I like, love fashion and stuff. But that was just something that really stuck with me, is like, when you make a commitment, you need to stick with that. And so to answer your question, something that really like stuck out to me in my life was, when you make a commitment, you need to follow through on that commitment. When you give your word to people or a person, or even to yourself, you need to follow through with that, And so that was a really something that I've carried on in my life too, because there's people counting on you. My team, I made a commitment to my team, at the beginning of the season, I needed to follow through with that, So
Yeah.
that's a pivotal moment in my life for me. But I also would say growing up in church, like my parents had us, we went to church, and we still do. And just, having God be a part of my life has been a huge a huge part of my life, and I would not be where I am today without having God in my life for sure. So I would say those are some pivotal lessons and just things that have been instilled in me at a young age that, carry me into who I am today.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, at least I think you shared that story on one of the podcast episodes about the conflict of the contest versus the commitment to the basketball team. And with that, I mean, honestly, you're definitely a speaker, Elise, because the all the parts of the equation is there. Your personal story, and then the takeaway from it. Man, that's so awesome! How powerful that is, commitment, because I'm sure, by that time, sports is second nature. Like, I eat, sleep, think about basketball all the time. But this pageant, this contest, this is awesome. I want to do this. And, the fact that your friends were there. And so that commitment, that's huge. And then, the impact of your parents, instilling God in your life and sticking with that, that's so amazing. So now, fast forward, you talked about some of the things that, again, even having God in your life, it stuck with you now. As you think about it, at least today, the speaker, the entrepreneur, the person who's out here, author, who's doing all these amazing things that you do, what's your idea of impact, or how would you describe impact as an adult?
Yeah, for me, impact to me is just lives that are being touched, like that's to me how I equate impact, how many people are being positively touched
Mm,
by what you do. That's my personal definition of impact, in a positive way, because we can have negative impact too, There's so many different ways
true.
of it. But to me, I see impact on a positive level of like, how are you making a difference in people's lives, a positive difference. So that's how I would define impact, and just in a general stance with anybody, just whatever you're called to do with your gifts or your talents or whatever, how are you using that to make a positive difference in the world to impact others?
Oh, man, Y- you know, that's good. And I think, um, maybe I've heard it before in a previous interview, but just the way you said it, right? It's that positive impact, because anything can be impactful, right? Negative things, there's some things in my life in the past has been negative that's impactful, but that positive impact that's going to breed more positivity. Um, I cue in on certain words, at least, and I always share this, whether it's combos or my YouTubes and different videos, wherever I am, and especially when I'm speaking, that my personal life's mission is to share my light, love, and positivity with as many people as I can in the time and space that I have. So anytime I hear any of those three words, I'm like, yes, yes. I latch on to it, because it's like, yes, that's part of my mission, my purpose, my passion is that light, love, and positivity. So positive impact is where it's at. So here's something we talk about often, right? On Break the Odds, on combos and different things when I'm responding to you and Gladys. When you think about this, what does the word community mean for you? Because we've talked about like your circle, and I described as your web and different things. What does community mean to you? Again, thinking about that impact and as an adult.
Yes, community to me means that you have a space to connect with others who are like-minded. That's how I define community. And and just being a place where you're inspired to help you grow to the next level, and more so just to know that you're not alone, and
Mm,
that's how, I define community. I know, like with what I do specifically, like, we have a Funding College Debt-Free community on Facebook, where it's just a community for people to be able to have a place to connect with others who are on their journey of taking action to fund college debt free, so they know they're not alone and can learn from each other. With Break the Odds, we created this through the podcast. A global community has been formed, where it's just people having that same desire to grow and to break the odds in their life. So to me, I would just define a community as just having a being around like-minded people. And it doesn't have to be a huge, large community. There's different levels of community. There's
yeah.
thousands, millions, or even just a handful of people, 1, 2, 5 people, but it's just people who are in your life that are like-minded, that can help you grow, and you guys can grow together.
Yeah, man. When you said that, even small, because I think, at least sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially like in business and entrepreneurship, which is a good thing as an entrepreneur, we always think big, right? It's think like the next thing and the larger audience. And as a speaker, right? It's like, hey, look, I'm going to bring Mike to 5, 10 people in an auditorium or a Zoom, but I shine with 100. 500, like, but I love how you said that even small groups. So it just, a thought bubble just popped up. It's like, what's your micro community that you're making an impact in? That
Yeah.
micro community that you can share, and I really do, I kind of feel and see that kind of as the community family bond that we have on Convos. It's kind of a micro community, right? We talked about this in the last interview. Like, we would love for it to be huge because it's so many gems and amazing people and connections, and things like this never would happen without it. So I appreciated that micro community. I love that idea, like starting small, that community where it's like-minded people, and that word we used already, positive, places where you can make a positive impact. So you
Yeah.
mentioned funding college. Oh, you were going to say something, Elise?
Yeah, I was just going to add, just to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying,
Yeah.
just before we pivot to something else, was it when you mentioned that micro, I think I like that word micro. But the thing is, in order to get to that large level, you have to be focused on the micro. Like I often say, like, you can't change the world it starts by changing someone's world, right? It starts by that one person. And so even if it's like on social media, oftentimes people are like, oh, I want to get all these go viral, but it starts by you impacting that one person who then likes it, who then shares it. So really, like, and when it comes to community, it's not underestimating that one, like really making sure that one person is being valued and served. Even if it's like in a business, you can't grow to the level you want until it starts with one happy client or customer, you know what I mean? And then it builds from
Yeah.
there. But I just wanted to share that, with your audience, like, and just as a mindset thing, like community, it starts with that one, and really like not taking that for granted and just pouring into one person and impacting their life. And it'll create that ripple effect that will lead to that larger audience. Yeah.
I don't know why, Elise, but you're firing so many neural pathways in what you're saying, because even with that, like, as you're saying that, I hear so many things in that message. And to the audience, you said something so powerful. It starts with that one person. And I would go even further to say it starts with you.
Yes.
Like, I tell people all the time, I'm going to support and push and share and talk about your business and what you have going on until you stop. Well, Mike, why did you stop talking about my book? Because you did. Right. So it starts with that one person, like the business you're speaking, whatever it is. I tell people often, like when they ask me about speaking, and Mike, if you can't get in that mirror and speak to yourself for 5 minutes and keep your own audience, how can you expect an audience to do that? And then you said another word, at least, viral. And that, if we go back to the definition of what that means, it's something that spreads. And that virus, that viral sensation has to start in you. You got to feel it in your bones, my hands, the hair that I don't have on the top of my head. I feel that thing that I'm doing, that I'm passionate about. So, man, I'm telling you, Elise, it's like you handed me a baton and I took off, third leg. That was my leg, track 4x1, third leg coming around. I'm like, let's go, let's finish this. I love it. So thank you for adding that, because I think that's so beautiful. And thinking about that, one person, once you get it yourself, start with one person. That one person that supports you, make sure that you take them on that journey and see what it is. I like to ask those questions, right? Of what is it that made you connect? What is it that keeps you here, that keeps you around?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So going back to, you talked about funding college debt free. So that Facebook group and Student Navigator, you're doing that. So with that and anything else, what are some things that you're working on professionally to have an impact just daily in what you do, even with your speaking?
Yeah. So on a daily, like as you mentioned, in convos, just like every morning at 7:30, we go live and just have motivation and encouragement for the day.
And pause, Elise. Let me just bring that home, right? She said
Okay.
every morning. She means Monday through Saturday, people. Every morning on the Convos app, 7:30 Eastern. Yes. So Central, 6:30, 5:30 Mountain, what is that, 4:30
4:30
Pacific?
on West
Like,
Coast. Yeah.
so listen, when she, yeah, I just wanted to bring that home because consistent, like people, even myself, I had a show that I did every Monday called Celebrate with Coach Mike. And for whatever reason, I started having a lot of issues. So now I'm like a big supporter of in everybody's lives and everything. But I just wanted to add that in there because you say every morning, and she means every morning early. So
Yeah, but the beautiful part is that you're starting the day. It's an extension of the Let's Break the Odds initiative, where it's just, one of our four pillars is personal growth, and so really just being in a space of just starting our day off together. And
mm,
I say our, just those who show up, and us, whatever we talk about, a success topic to help us grow and break the odds, but it's starting the day off together, the motivation and encouragement for the day. And so it really helps to set that foundation. And it's just been a beautiful thing to have, as you mentioned, community kind of grow, because it started with just like, a handful of people, and now it's, grown where people are continuing to come back and show up every single day, and then just talking about how it's impacted their mindset and helped them break the odds in their life in different areas. And even hearing them, it's motivate and encourage me. So in terms of, to answer your question on a daily, that's something that I do daily in terms of making an impact, is just going doing that space of motivation, encouragement in the morning.
yeah, which is dope. It's one of those things where depending on whether I'm going to the gym or have early clients. Every time I'm making, I'm so glad that I did, because y'all talk about something that is always, here we are, impactful. Like literally every day on Let's Break the Odds. So when y'all do that, it's impactful. And I appreciate that. I shared with you before. I'll share it again. I'm sharing with people the idea that comes from one of the podcast episodes. And even we talked about it one morning on Convos, is that gratitude, and talking about adding that gratitude even to my affirmations. And it's been a beautiful thing, because now instead of my affirmations, with my first one always being I have everything I need to be successful, I put that gratitude in there, and now it's I'm thankful that I have everything I need to be successful, or I'm grateful. And so just the little smallest things. And so I definitely appreciate you and Gladys just for showing up and what you do. So that that thing, that the Let's Break the Odds initiative, you talked about the four pillars, right? So talk a little bit more about the Let's Break the Odd initiative, and the four pillars in the podcast and what's going on with that.
Yes. So the Let's Break the Odds initiative, it really started based on, as I shared, like I graduated debt free, and through that journey, it's been technically 10 years. Like I'm still in my 20s, but like it's been 10 years that I've been teaching this, because when I was a student, I was naturally just sharing my tips with like family and
Mhm.
friends, and they saw results too. And then I ended up turning that into, actually creating a organization to help navigate people. But through that, especially with everything that was going on with 2020, how students were impacted, it began to really reflect and think like, okay, like how can we help students actually like stay in school to graduate? Like we're all about funding college debt free, but like you got to reach graduation, right? Then it started thinking about, like how can parents and students get financial literacy, like learn money management, learn about money management while they're in school and then afterwards. So once you do graduate debt free, you can know how to manage your money because you don't have any debt. So you'll be able to walk into, whether it's investing and starting a business or whether it's working your job and you have the salary, and how to manage your money, all those things.
Mm.
And then also just want to know, like for students, like how can they be introduced to different career paths so they can pursue, a career that they love. And so that's kind of what started the Let's Break the Odds initiative. Our four pillars are, the mission is to navigate individuals towards breaking the odds in their life, family, career, and communities. And so the four pillars are college and career development, personal growth development, mental health, and financial literacy. And so, but the beautiful thing was, like I said, this was something that was for students, tailored towards students and parents. But during this, through us doing different like events in the community, like we do different free events in the community and just different things that we do, those who weren't students or parents of students found value in what we do too. And so it's just been a beautiful thing, and how it's grown into something bigger than beyond just the initial vision. But a part of that is the Break the Odds podcast that I host. So it's a syndicated podcast where I bring on, it's motivation and encouragement, but also where I interview different industry experts and professionals who share their personal stories of breaking the odds to reach their level of success. And then also like practical tips and on how we as listeners can break the odds in our lives too. Because, there's like we need more positive content out there. And I love
Right.
how you have your platforms with Black Business Moving and with this. And so really it's just to be a space where people can tune in to have just positive, encouraging content, but also something that can give them practical action steps to grow. And so we have people who talk about whether it's how to break the odds with starting a business, how to break the odds with growing your business, how to break the odds at your job, with marriage, with education. I mean, so many different areas and industries. And so so in a nutshell, that's the Let's Break the Odds initiative and what we do.
That's amazing. That's beautiful, and just so expansive, because like you said, with those 4 pillars, you're hitting all those aspects and areas of people's lives where they have issues or where they need development or growth in those areas. So that's so awesome. And like you said, the one thing too that I noticed as well, which is why I'm like, okay, well, let me bring it to my web, right? There, a lot of times there is positivity out there, but it's hard to find. It's hard to find because they bury that, in terms of news cycle and what attracts negativity and the very opposite of positive and growth. It sells, it goes viral. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, well, how do I connect? Create it, create the space, Mike. So Black Business Booming, Impactful Conversations, my YouTube, my dubs of the day, just light, love, and positivity. Again, that was part of me coming up with that personal life mission years ago. So I love that. So I think it's one of those things where if you don't see it, be it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what inspired me to do the podcast was, in 2020, I think that was such a, I don't even know how to put the words for everybody. It was just a difficult season.
Exactly.
I think
Right.
the right
Look,
word.
there are no words for 2020.
Yes. And so I was really just craving like just something to kind of feed me and fill me up. And I was just like, you know what, let me just create something, highlight people doing good in the world and to be inspired, each time. So yeah, but I like what
Yeah.
you said, like create it,
Yeah.
sometimes that difference that you want to see.
Oh, I love that, Elise. A friend of mine, we were talking, and we used to do just a conversation like this, and we would go live on Facebook. And, everybody went into 2020 thinking 2020 vision, right? And this is the year, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, January, yeah, that's February. Wait a minute. Oh, is this March? Oh, my goodness. And here we are, right? 2 years later. However, somewhere along the way, we started changing and say, you know what? We thought it was 2020 vision, but it was more about clarity. Because now I look at Elease, someone I never met until this year, started something in 2020. It's so many people, even a handful of Black Business Booming, maybe more than that, have started in 2020. So it was also that year of clarity where it's like, okay, everybody had to slow down and really start thinking of what I call, Elise, those self sessions where you sit down with yourself and you put the who, what, when, where, why, what do you want to see? How am I going to get there? And you start doing things. So I think that's what happened as well. It's so much that happened, and we know the pandemic, but as we look back, it's a lot of movers and shakers that really turned it into the next year in 2020. So I'm definitely thankful for that, because when you said that, right, that was the theme, 2020 vision. Here we go. And it's like, oh, 2020 kept punching.
Yeah.
So Elise, we talked about it, right? And Black Business Booming, but a little bit more, because I know even today, as we're recording on a Saturday, you're on your way to doing some awesome things. But what's next? What's next for Elise and Let's Break the Odds initiative, the Student Navigator? What's on the radar? And maybe even since we did our interview, like just a week ago, with Black Business Booming, what's next for you, or what's developing?
Yes. So I'm actually working on, so I've just reached a point in my life where it's like, I just want to like create something that's I'm just going to deposit everything I know into it.
Mm,
So I'm creating this course where I'm really just depositing everything I know about funding college debt free into it, you know? And so I can't wait to like share that. It'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks, but I'm just really excited because this is going to be a program where really people can like get in my brain, and I'm depositing everything I know about funding college debt free, because we do like mentoring and things at the Student Navigator, of course, but
hmm.
this is going to be a program where I just deposit everything. So I'm working on
Wow.
that, and that's going to be released in a couple of weeks. So I'm really excited about that because I did a program before, and we have other programs at the Student Navigator, but this one is going to be like on a deeper, more advanced level. And so I'm excited for this to help families really just have this as a go-to resource for funding college debt free, taking everything that I've learned over the past 10 years and kind of putting this into a program. So that's what I'm currently working on. But of course, with speaking, I'm doing a speaking tour. So in 2021, I did speaking tours virtual because, you know, talking about 2020, everything was canceled, you know.
Right.
And so kind of having to think outside the box about how can we reach families with this message about funding college debt free and teaching them how to do it. And so just had this idea just to do a virtual speaking tour, kind of just put it out there and try to see what happened. And it was just amazing how different schools and organizations, you know, invited me to speak and took part in that. And so we're continuing that this year. Yeah, so I'm just excited with that. And then with Break the Odds, we are rolling out with a new season coming out soon. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited for our listeners to be able to hear from these experts who they have amazing stories of breaking the odds. And I'm just so grateful. So I can't wait for everybody to hear them. So yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm working on.
You
I'm
know,
excited.
I don't know. Lucky, blessed, privileged, I don't know, but everybody I talk with or interview, the impactful conversations, Black Business Booming, I always love getting to that point of what's next because they're doing some amazing things and it just continues. And so I love to be, kind of the bird's eye view to say, yes, I love it. I'm like always cheering. So Elease, again, thank you so much for this opportunity for this impactful conversation. Of course, again, going to make sure that there's info. Make sure you connect with Elease, and there's info for students, parents, teachers, people in general, because you hear the story, just that positivity to connect with that. Elease, anything you want to leave the people with?
Well, first of all, before I say that, I do want to highlight the fact that you are going to be on the podcast for season 2. So your listeners get to hear from you. Yes, I almost forgot to say that. Yes. So I'm excited about that. I meant to add that in there. That was a great conversation we had. And you talk about mindset and just so many amazing things. So I can't wait for the listeners to hear that. So I just want to share that in terms of what's next. We got you for the next season. So
Awesome,
I'm
people.
excited
So
about that.
listen, y'all heard Elease. That means you got to go everywhere where podcasts are offered. You got to go subscribe to Break the Odds podcast, right? Because you need to listen. I'm telling y'all, I shared that testimony of how I changed my affirmation just from a podcast episode, and Elease shares a lot more. You just the whole team, y'all do an amazing job at presenting that, and like you say, the industry experts, people sharing their stories. So make sure that you all check that out. There will be links in the description. Make sure that you connect with Break the Odds podcast because it's some amazing things going on with Break the Odds podcast. And I can't wait to see, even to hear, not just myself, because I hear my voice all the time because I do talk to myself, and I'm self-employed. So I'm in a staff meeting. It's not talking to myself. It's a staff meeting.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
My mother-in-law, for Christmas, she got me, my wife, and I think both of us, a shirt, and it says self-employed. I'm not talking to myself. I'm in a staff meeting. And I'm like, yes.
I
So I
like
wear that a
that.
lot of times in my sessions or, meetings, and people love like, oh my goodness, I love your shirt. So,
I love that.
Elease, thank you so much again. I have an amazing speaking tour. I know it's going to be awesome because what you provide in your energy, in your level of expertise, and what you bring is so amazing. So thank you again for doing this. I appreciate you for taking the time out to run it back. Black Business Movement Now, impactful conversation. So I definitely appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And
You're
I guess
very welcome.
I forgot to answer about the message that I wanted to leave with your audience at the end was just, um, Making a difference and making an impact. This is impactful conversations. Don't, I just want to say as reminders, like it starts with that one. So as you're going through
Mm,
life, think about how are you making an impact in that person's life? How are you having them feel valued in this world, seen in this world, empowered to make a difference in this world? Like, how are you making that impact with whatever you have that you're doing, whether it's your gifts, your talents, it's inside of you. And even if you're trying to figure out, well, what am I to do in life? How can I make an impact? Just think about as a clue. And someone gave this tip to me, which is, whatever comes to you so easily, that's a clue that that's what you're gifted in. And that's what kind of walk into that, maybe it's
mm.
something you've overcome, but just know that you have what it takes to break the odds and you can make an impact. And so just, again, it starts with that one. Oftentimes society, again, it goes to like being viral and being this, but it starts with that one. And as you make a difference in that one, it's going to create that chain reaction. Make sure your heart is in the right place. If you get 3 likes on social media, that means you impacted 3 people with that content,
Yes.
so celebrate that. So I just want to, encourage everyone to know that, your value and your worth of making an impact is not based on the views. It's not based on the likes. Just know that it's based on the difference that you're making in people's lives, and changing the world starts with changing someone's world.
Ooh, all right, Elise. Now you talked about church. You better preach. You better preach. Each one teach one, each one reach one. I love it. That's so amazing. Where is the microphone? Where's my other microphone to drop right now? Doof, mic drop. Thank you, Elise, for that. That is beautiful. That's the takeaway right there. It starts with one. Oh, because that's so big, right? And that causes a lot of mental health strain these days too, especially with Gen Z and our younger people. That's why I love, reaching out and reaching back to the younger people. It's it's everything is clicks and views and viral and this and that. And we're in the age of influencers. And so it's like, oh man, reach one person. Those 3 likes, those 2 likes, you never know what those 3 people, those 5 people are going to turn out to be. And they may be that next CEO that gets you to come back and say, hey, Elise, hey, Mike, hey, whoever you are, I need you to come speak to 1,000 people. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that. Elise, it's been awesome, as I knew it would be. Thank you so much for this again. Thank you to everybody that tuned in and listened. If you haven't subscribed to this point, if you haven't liked, commented, drop something in the comment, what are you waiting on? Because this has been amazing. I appreciate everyone for tuning in to another episode, and we'll see y'all next time on Impactful Conversations. Peace.